There are three tiers to the internet. There is the main internet that all of you use. There is the dark web / deep web, and there's hyper privacy. Today, we are going to be discussing tools that every single one of you should be using in your daily life. I'm going to break them down A, B, C, D, E, and F, and potentially some S tier, God tier type tools. Most of them are free. Some of them are inexpensive. All of them should be used by all of you every single day. Make sure you get your notes ready and go through this. This is very important. We're going to discuss tier 1 today, which affects everyone. And then in subsequent videos, we'll get into the dark web and hyper privacy, which is very important for most of you. The first thing we're going to discuss is DNS. I think DNS is something that is not taken seriously enough. This is a great way for companies to get your metadata. Using something like NextDNS, which I consider an A-tier tool, not only is it gonna block your ads and your trackers, it's gonna block base level malware, it's gonna block base level attacks, it's gonna give you a lot of protection if you have children, which is something that I have. So having a DNS allows you the features you should have, especially nowadays where everything is tracked, everything is cataloged, everything is metadata, and everything is going towards a social credit score. So a bare minimum, I do recommend NextDNS. It can be used across most platforms, and it is a great tool. This would be my A tier option. My S tier option will probably be Quad 9. Quad 9 is a very good option. It's a little bit more technologically advanced, but you get more features. I'm going to give you options for people who are hyper into tech, and I'm going to give you options that everyone could use. NextDNS is pretty simple. Quad 9 is a great option, and it's something that I also use a lot. I use all three options. I show you my favorite option by far is Pi-hole. I've talked a lot about Raspberry Pis and Pi-hole. I recommend all of you look at Pi-hole for your DNS. And just in general, the Raspberry Pi ecosystem is unbelievably helpful for privacy, for digital security. It has a simplistic web interface. It has a simplistic, just a very simplistic code set and hardware set. So everything you're doing in the Raspberry Pi universe adds tremendous amount of value. But if you look here at DNS, it gives you a lot of base level information for your systems, whether you're using something like the Netgear Nighthawk or the MoFi like I've talked about, if you're using Starlink like I do, or other internet providers, both wireless or wired, gives you a lot of flexibility. And also for travel, this is incredible. So Pi-hole is also just a full top tier, S tier, best in class. But again, you are going to need to be a little bit more tech advanced. And that is one thing that a lot of people don't like, having to be tech advanced. So NextDNS is for everyone. Quad 9 is the next step up. Pi-hole is incredible. Talking about God tier, if you're not on my Blacklisted newsletter yet, I recommend you get on. We have a new private video function. I predicted 5 things in my last video about investigating Congress. I went in a deep dive on Congress and a bunch of bills that are getting ready to pass. If you haven't saw that video, it is highly suppressed. Check it out now. I already got an email about it. It's probably going to get taken down. 2 of the 5 things that I said in that video have already came true. I didn't even think they'd come true this fast. The Take It Down Act is being signed by the president as we speak, which is not good because it gives the government a lot more tools at their disposal to track you. So if you're not on my exclusive Blacklisted newsletter, which is free, I would like it to come out every Friday, but if I'm being honest, it usually comes out about twice a month. But the episodes or the issues are fire. Now it's going to have a video component. It's the only way you can get the videos. Don't ask how you can get the videos. If you're on the newsletter, you can get the videos. They haven't come out yet, but they're getting ready to. So make sure you're signed up for this, because it's going to be all of the topics that I want to talk about, but I can't, and this is important, and it's leading into a new site that we built, and a lot of you guys know about some of the stuff we've been discussing there. So check out Blacklisted, first link down below. Raspberry Pi in general is God tier. This is unbelievable. I recommend all of you just play around with Raspberry Pi. Look how inexpensive you can get a Pi for. You literally can get all of these different tools and resources. You can dig deep into the ecosystem. You know, if you look at their products, you can get one of these. They have it's kind of like Lego for electronics. Yeah, you can solder and go more advanced like I do and my team here does, but you don't have to. That's the cool thing. A lot of it's snapped together. You can get Wi-Fi cards. You can get their Zero here. You can see this. Look, it's just a couple of bucks. I mean, literally, this is just a couple of bucks. And you can pick one of these up. You can use them for VPNs. You can use them for DNS. You can use them for remote bootable operating systems. I talked yesterday about some privacy tools in my video, and a lot of people asked me, should I use Raspberry Pi for the remote bootables for Tails and other operating systems? Yeah, it works great. I use them on Raspberry Pi myself all the time. So just as a special bonus, I do want to say Raspberry Pi, I love plug-in Raspberry Pi. It is one of the coolest options you have out there to actually own your tech. The problem with a lot of tech is we spend a tremendous amount of money on laptops and phones and tablets and computing devices. And for the most part, most people have little to no control over it. And so this gives you the ability to be fully in control of your own device, know what's coming in, be able to hardware, do whatever you want, have hardware switches. It just gives you unlimited module capabilities. So I am always a big fan of Raspberry Pi, and I recommend everyone have one or two and just tinker around with them in your spare time, because the stuff you can do on Raspberry Pi is endless. But for DNS, I do recommend Pi-hole. It's my top recommendation. It's not difficult. You can play around on their website. But if that doesn't work for you, NextDNS or Quad 9 is a good option. Moving on, this is a great option if you are looking at additional encryption, especially things for like emails. This is a privacy guard. You can go through and you can use GNU PG. This is an incredible option for all of you, and I will have links to everything down below. Again, I'm not affiliated with anything I'm saying here other than my own newsletter. Obviously, I think that goes without saying, but I do need to say it. Other than my newsletter, I'm not affiliated with any of this. Most of these are free open source tools, which is the way it needs to be. Open source, if you don't know, means it can be audited, means that there's a bunch of people in the community that can add code. A lot of you have seen, we're going to talk about GitHub and other things here in a minute. I'm going to get into some more advanced tools here in a minute. But this is some stuff that you can look at. But this tool right here for Privacy Guard is a great option. A lot of you guys know about PGP encryption. You use emails. Look, email was never designed to be private and secure, because if you look at the white paper of the internet, the way the internet was set up, privacy and digital security, they didn't anticipate that the entire planet we know as Earth would do basically everything on the internet originally. So this gives you some options here. You guys should really check this out. It gives you added layers of security for your emails, and it gives you an actual privacy guard, which is separate from your email provider. So even if your email provider is end-to-end encryption, and it should be, you should not be using any of those free services. And if you do have a free plan on like Tutnota or Proton at bare minimum, maybe a Start Mail, but honestly, I think Tutnota, Proton clear at this point. And I've talked a lot about that. I've done a full tier list videos in the past. I've done 6 or 8 of them, so you can check those out. A lot of that still holds. I'm going to be doing some updated series on the dark web, and this is kind of the precursor to that. This is an A-list tool that I do recommend all of you check out, because you have that additional security for your email, which is very, very important. Now, when it comes to file encryption, I am a big proponent of this tool right here, Crypto Matter, and basically, when it comes to protecting in the cloud, when it comes to things like OneDrive, when it comes to other different cloud-based drives, which are computing-based drives, centralized drives, having a tool like this that gives you the flexibility to encrypt your files, encrypt your data. Of course, you use AES 256-bit at bare minimum, which is very important. For crackability, hackability. We're probably about 10 years out from AI and the new NVIDIA chips being a serious problem, but it is something that you need to keep in your mind and think about. So having your files secured and encrypted is a very good option. This is a good tool, but Veracrypt is still my number one. So that was my A tier. Veracrypt is still my S tier. I use Veracrypt for basically all of the secondary backups, and when I put the files on my encrypted hard drive, I put them on Veracrypt. If you can break my hard drive and my Veracrypt files, I mean, again, at this point, it's basically NSA level stuff to be able to do this right now. There's no AIs that can do that. There's no autonomous bots that can do that. I know a lot of companies would have you think that. I know Windows has a new chip out. Of course, NVIDIA has a new chipset out. They're a long way away from being able to do those kind of things. So keep that in mind. It's a lot of hyperbole right now, but VeraCrypt is still an S-level tool that I recommend. And if you're not looking at using VeraCrypt, then that gives you a good secondary option. Now, I'm going to do a quick side note for you Windows people, and I know that I have a lot of people watching this. You might even be on a Windows device right now, unfortunately. I hate Windows. I talk about that all the time. I have nothing Windows. In fact, my company, we don't even beta test Windows anymore. We don't test them. We don't use them. I don't allow them on any of my networks. It is absolute trash. Windows 10 is a joke. Windows 11 is literally, you are now malware for the system. You and your machine are a cog in the system. Now, I know some of you have to use them for work. That's why I'm showing this quick tool, O&O Shut Up 10++, free anti-spy tool for Windows 10 and 11. Now, I do have to say something. If you have Windows 11, there's no fixing that. A lot of people ask me, what's the best thing to do for privacy if you have Windows 11? Throw it off a balcony, just make sure nobody is down below, or catch it on fire, but make sure you're in a safe and secure environment. That's the best thing to do for the privacy. You saw me take my drill press and my bandsaw and cut up my ledger when Ledger went the wrong way in the crypto space. And I talked about how I'd never use Ledger again, and I never will use Ledger again. I literally took my drill press and drilled through it in the bandsaw. Well, Windows is 1,000 times worse, 1,000 times worse, especially Windows 11. So there's really nothing you can do, but this is the best thing you can do. So here's a tool you can use that will add some value. There's no way to make Windows good. There is no way to make Windows good at this point. That's not their goal to be good. Their goal is control. Their goal is to make you the product. Their goal is to sell you and your data and your location and all your metadata and everything you do, think, say, type, etc. Okay? We've established that. There's no hope for Windows. There's no hope. Mac, you can lock down. Mac, there's some things you can do. Linux is obviously the best. Even if you run a virtual machine at this point, I don't trust Windows 11. Windows 10, run a virtual machine, run a Parallels. You can use a software called Parallels. You can side swap in Ubuntu or Unix or Cubes or any flavor of Linux that you want. That's fantastic. Windows 11 is completely useless. So just a quick side note, if you have Windows, here is a Windows tool. It's really the only thing I'm going to say about Windows in this video. I wanted to give the Windows people something because it's shocking to me how many people still use Windows. Again, if you have a work computer and it's out of your control, I understand. Just use it for work. Put it in a Faraday bag. When you're not working, put it in a Faraday bag, have the thing turned off, and then that's it. You just ignore the thing if you can. And then take it out for work. This is a tool if your company will allow, or if for whatever reason financially you only have a Windows device right now. Do not use Windows with crypto. Do not use Windows 11 with crypto. I've said this before, but I get a lot of people asking me, can I use Windows 11 with Windows 10? You can still kind of log down and use crypto. If you have Windows 11, do not use it with crypto. Do not. You are being tracked in ways that you can't comprehend. Telegram. Telegram is a very popular one. Now this is an F. Do not use Telegram anymore. I talked about this when Pavel got arrested. Telegram now is infested with the CIA and other intelligence agencies. Yes, they have some base level encryption, so I thought about giving them a D. But the problem with Telegram, and unfortunately it is like a disease in the crypto market. I know a lot of you want to be on your favorite Telegram chat. A lot of these crypto influencers and a lot of these crypto bros and a lot of these crypto companies need to get off Telegram because it is a trap and they are being backed into a corner. When the switch is flipped and when things start going through with the crypto framework bill, which I talked about yesterday, and the pieces are in motion, I showed you the legislation, I showed you the things on Congress.com, and in a subsequent bill, I'm going to go even deeper into those bills. I have a whole bunch more of those videos coming, and a whole bunch of stuff on the dark web that I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start broadcasting from the dark web for you guys and showing you guys the ins and outs. This is the main web because this is what most of you guys use, but we're going to do the dark web side too, which is going to be very interesting so you guys can see the truth. But I showed you those bills in black and white on the congress.gov website. It's not my site, it's their site. And they're already getting passed as we speak. I already showed you those things. Well, it's getting way worse, and they're embedded in Telegram. Telegram is an F. Delete all your data, delete your Telegram account, and quit using it. If you're using Telegram, you will be tracked. There are advanced bots who can track you because Pavel, as part of his release, has given backdoors and access to this. Telegram is trash and you should not be using it. And if you are setting up your own demise, especially if you're using on crypto, because they're tracking every single person in crypto. All of the main crypto ones have bots in there now that are tracking everyone, and they can track all your data, including location, metadata. And a lot of these NSA level bots can crack your VPN. They can crack all this stuff because you're letting them in. By using Telegram, do not use Telegram. Under any circumstances, do not use Telegram. That's just my advice. You do what you want. WhatsApp. I think you know WhatsApp's an F, but I am shocked how many people think this is private messaging. WhatsApp is an absolute F, and you should not use WhatsApp ever. I get a lot of people asking me, hey, can we do do you have WhatsApp? What's your WhatsApp? Can I reach out to you on WhatsApp? No, absolutely not. I do not have a Telegram, and I do not have a WhatsApp, because that's insane. WhatsApp is probably the only thing worse than Telegram. Do not use WhatsApp under any circumstances, no matter what. I don't think I have to say anything else about WhatsApp, do I? It's an F. I mean, Telegram is slightly better than WhatsApp, but at this point, because of what happened, do not use either one. If you do, bad things are going to happen to you based on intelligence, data tracking, potentially hacks, and potentially people in SUVs showing up at your door, especially if you're outside of the US, but at this point, even in the US. Now, Delta is an interesting one. It is decentralized secure messaging app. I've been testing it. Right now, I'm going to give it a B. The problem I've been having is some of the connection issues I'm not impressed with. It is decentralized. It is peer-to-peer in a way. And it is, in my opinion, they're trying to do too many things. They're trying to be all things to all people. They're adding gaming features. You see this a lot with young apps and new apps where they add too many things. Because of the connectivity issues, because of the linking issues, because of some of the data that's inside of these, I don't necessarily like. I wouldn't use Delta Chat. I give it a B because I think it has promise and I have hope for apps like this. But is this something that I'm actively using? No, it's not. Is it something I plan to use? Not right now, but I am keeping an eye on it. It is something that if you decide you want to test, hey, go nuts. It does have chats and different mails. Their servers are a little sus. I've been doing some research. I wouldn't do anything hyper important on it, but it is an option. We'll just say that. Threema is absolute utter garbage. This is another one that I get asked a lot. I'm going to give it a D. The only feature is direct connect messaging. Is it secure? No. Is it private? No. Is it centralized? Yes. Do I recommend it? No. Is it hard to set things up directly with your supposed end-to-end encryption, which they talk about here, but it doesn't work the way that they claim it works 100%? Do I recommend this to anybody? No, I don't. It's a D. If you're a tech person and you're using a burner messaging service, the only thing I'd recommend this for is a burner messaging service. Other than that, I do not recommend this. It's kind of like using privacy.com for a secondary layer on your Ghost card, right? I have a lot of clients who do that. I do that myself. That's a good secondary layer. This could be a good burner layer, just like that's a good burner layer. But is this something that I would recommend you use? No, I would not. This is a D, and I'm being generous with the D because that one function that it has for direct port messaging would be good for a burner messaging app. If you're talking to somebody who you're not going to be talking to long term, this could work. Now, Signal is a solid A, and it confirmed my A because the leaks that happened in the government of the United States. All of the bad stuff that happened with Signal, don't let the media confuse you. The person who was using that was an idiot, okay? There are two main issues with Signal. One, you have to have a phone number. That's why it's an A and will never be above an A as long as you have to have a phone number. Now, obviously, I think it goes without saying that you use a burner number. I do this all the time. You can use Google Voice numbers. You can use prepaid burner numbers. You can use a host of different burner number options. I have done videos about black SIMs. You can do a 10 SIM toggle with those, and then you can toggle through burner numbers because you don't need the number long term. None of the numbers I've ever used on Signal are real numbers. They're a number I use for 5 minutes to set up a signal, and I usually set up new signals every 3 to 6 months and just cycle through them, right? And just throw the whole thing in the garbage, get a new one. That's a good option. Signal is a good, easy option, especially if you're going to the next level of friends and family. You should not be texting anything that you would not want on a billboard. You should not be texting anything of value to anyone, because the way that SMS messages are now structured under the law, they can be captured not just by somebody down the street with an IMSI catcher, somebody down the street with $87 worth of stuff from Radio Shack. In fact, Raspberry Pi, you can use a pineapple or a rubber ducky that has a backdoor in the pineapple. You can do SIM spoofing. I mean, there's a million ways to get into these things, right? I can go sit here and go down 50 different methods. Instead of all that, use Signal for your messaging, friends and family at minimum. At minimum, Signal is what you should be using. The other apps do not use. Signal is an A. As long as they have phone numbers, they will remain an A. When we saw the issues with the federal government and all the stuff that happened with the military and the military plans and all those things, that was because they added somebody on accident, quote unquote, a journalist. Should they have been talking about military level stuff? No, but also the DNS tried hacking into their Signal and couldn't, because it really is end-to-end encryption. And I actually know a couple people who've worked on the Signal project. While I don't like that it's centralized, it is end-to-end encryption. It has been audited. It has been tested. So the fact that it is centralized, I don't love. And the fact that you have to use a phone number, I don't love. Because it's centralized, that's why you have to have the phone number, and that's not going to change. So Signal's probably never going to be above A tier, but it's a solid A that I do recommend all of you use. And it is an A that, as of right now, you can trust. And the government showed us that. DNS couldn't get in. Nobody could really get into this because of the way the encryption is set up. Now, could the NSA brute force, brute hack into some? They would have to have you as a target. This is why, again, I say make sure you're using a burner number or a dummy number. Now, here is a good honorable mention and a good possible option: Status. They are decentralized, peer-to-peer. This is, what they claim making the jump to Web3. This should be where some people are going in the crypto space. Is this a good option now? I am testing it closely. I definitely give this an A right now. I think this could potentially go up. For the average person, it's going to be a little bit more difficult switch or transition for them to use. I don't see the average person using this right now, but it is open source and it is decentralized, which is what I like. Works on all the major platforms. This is one that I recommend you guys check out. I think it's going to add a lot of value moving forward as we move into Web3. Status is positioning themselves for Web3. They're doing a great job of that. That's something that I do talk to some people around. I play around with a lot, and I do like it. The audits that I've seen, the tests that I've seen seem to hold up to their claims of the no encryption backdoors like we saw in Signal. Clearly, Signal doesn't have an encryption backdoor because they openly, publicly tried and they couldn't get in. Same thing with here, and that's the problem with some encryption. Not all encryptions are created equally, and I've talked about that with Proton Mail and different other email services. Well, this is something that actually is pretty good. So I do recommend this. S tier is going to have to be Session. Here's the problem with Session. Session really focuses heavy on not having metadata, which I respect. Metadata is the bane of most of your existence. I love Session, but the problem with Session is it can be a little glitchy, and it's still kind of being beta tested in a way. It's been around for a while, but it's not always completely stable. Connections are not always completely stable. Nodes are not always completely stable. But across the board, when you get Session to work, it is a great option. Like it says here, no phone numbers. That's 100% true. No data, no information. No data breaches that have ever been shown. I'll tell you that I've never seen any, so that claim must be true. Safe Pass, their Safe Pass are really, really good. The fact that it's open source is really, really good. No trackers, again, pass the audits. So Session would be the S tier option. For most of you, it's probably not necessary, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get your friends and family on Session than it is Signal. I do use Session all the time, every day. I will say Session and Signal can be a little bit glitchy because they're not paid. And that's the problem when you have free tools, is when you have a free tool, you are the product. When you have a free tool where you're not the product, how does the product survive? Becomes difficult, right? So they got to get really creative and really clever. So keep that in mind. You look at something like Google, problem is they have $1 zillion. They have unlimited money because all the products that they do have with advertising and the other paid products and paid services they have. Google's business suites makes them hundreds of billions of dollars. Their advertising makes them $1 trillion company. Most of these companies don't have that, and that's a serious problem. And then if they get sold to a bigger company, then they lose their appeal because they're no longer a privacy-based company and they're no longer open source. And so you have the community kind of coming together and donate. And I donate, and my company, we donate to privacy tools all the time. It is a good option, but for a lot of people, it's something that can be done. So it's an S-tier option. Yes, there's some glitches. Yes, there's some issues, but overall, it is a great option. Most of you are probably going to use Signal or potentially going into Web3 with Status, which looks like it's gearing up to be a main competitor. But these are options for you. Now, when we're talking about networks, this is one of the OGs. Freenet was one of the OGs, and now Freenet is HyphenNet. And you see the silhouette there. A lot of people see the classic rabbit, but elongated. A lot of you OGs in the privacy space will remember Freenet, and you can see here that this is kind of its new reincarnation, global open network. It gives you the ability to go peer-to-peer. It gives you the ability to be outside of the mainnet. It gives you an additional layer. This was one of the original networks. I'm going to give them a B. They've been around a long time. They've rebranded. They've really stood strong on their claims of censorship and speech. So they're very anti-censorship. They're very pro-speech. They're very pro-privacy. They've been around for a long time. But I'm going to give it a B just because the ability to use this big picture is not, for the average person, the greatest. I do recommend playing around with them, but it's solid. It's not the best. I think my A tier would be I2P. I2P, the Invisible Internet Project, has been around for a long time. I've used this for a long time. It is incredible peer-to-peer network. It is something that all of you, in my opinion, should check out. Whether or not you check out Hype is on you, but you should at least check out I2P to have a backup option. There's a lot of solid people working on this project, always releasing high-quality updates that add a lot of value to keep you privacy-based, to keep people outside of the mainnet and actually have anonymity, privacy, and speech freedom on the internet. Really, really important. So I2P has a great community behind it. While it isn't massive, it is a solid community overall. And then, of course, the S tier is going to be Tor. Regardless of what anybody says, Tor just keeps on getting better. It keeps on distancing themselves. A lot of people will say, well, wasn't it created by military? Wasn't? Look, guys, one of the most secure phones in the world is a Google Pixel with Graphene OS. You're thinking Google is basically an arm of the CIA. Well, in theory, yeah, Google has deep connections and they're intertwined deeply with the CIA. But even the CIA can't technically break graphene. Even the hardware itself, the way the graphene is set up, it goes outside of the core skin. It's like when you run a parallel and when you run a virtual machine on a Mac using cubes, the people at Apple can't get into that virtual machine, go through the encryption, and get into the cube set, even though it's on their hardware. So it allows you to add that layer. Obviously on Tor, everyone's heard of the onion layer. Tor is S tier and will continue to be S tier. Tor, their fingerprinting resistance is world-class. They probably started fingerprint resistance online at a level that was unprecedented. Their multi-layer encryption, they're one of the few people who talk about multi-layer encryption, and it actually exists. Also, the multi-relay sets with the exit nodes, being able to set your own node, the amount of flexibility you have on Tor. A lot of people haven't even scratched the surface. A lot of people don't understand how Tor works. They just hop on and type some stuff on the internet. But the amount of stuff you can do inside Tor, I recommend all of you do a deep dive in Tor and Raspberry Pi. Those are two things that are worth your time, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. This is S tier. This has always been S tier. This has always been the best option. And doesn't matter who created it because they can't control it. And if you understand how it works, you understand that. It's no different than, any other, it's no different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't be controlled by its supposed creators. A lot of people say, well, maybe it was created by some government entity. There's a fair chance that it was. I honestly think there's a good chance that it was. But even if it was, the way that it was set up, there are layer 2s, layer 3s that make it to the point where no matter who you are, you've lost your control. You've lost that flexibility. Exodus is probably my S-tier software wallet as a go-to, end-all, be-all, if I could only have one because of their flexibility. I get asked all the time, what's the best software wallet? Guys, there's a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen software wallets you could potentially use. As far as just a software wallet, Exodus, while I'm in between investments, staking, popping in and outside of coins, if I'm using some kind of meme coin tool, if I'm using some kind of exchange, institutional, otherwise, Kraken, Crypto.com, Coinbase, Binance, any of the majors, any of the miners like BISC or Stealth or Hatch or whichever one you're using, it really doesn't matter because Bitcoin, all the way down to every single altcoin, pretty much works flawlessly, including Monero, utilizing Exodus and their protocols. Exodus is S tier. I'm not going to get in the nitty gritty of all the different hardware wallets because there's so many. If I could only recommend one, this would be the one that I recommend. This is the one that I use almost every day. I pretty much don't use MetaMask anymore because of all the issues that have been happening recently and because of all the hacks, because of all of the issues. I don't use MetaMask pretty much ever. Exodus is a great option. Now, Cake Wallet is a software wallet that I do recommend, but it has so much more. It has so many tools. And a lot of people think just for Monero. No, not just for Monero. As you can see here, you can use Monero, Bitcoin, ETH, Litecoin, Solana, Tron, Poly. It has a whole bunch of different tools here and different coins here, and it's always getting more. Cake Wallet for your mobile device is very, very solid. They're adding in different features that you can use. Cake Pay has always kind of been a bust, unfortunately, but again, you utilize your Ghost card, you're good. Utilize your institutional card from whatever exchange you use that's in your crypto trust, and you're good to go. So you really don't need that anyway. But Cake Pay is a really good option, and I do recommend this. I do recommend all of you check out Cake Pay. Again, even if you don't have Monero, or it's a great way to get Monero. If you have any of these other coins, you can swap out for Monero in Cake Pay. So let's say you have ETH or Bitcoin or Solana. Those are pretty popular. Litecoin, maybe Poly or for whatever. But if you have one of those, if you're looking for an easy way to get Monero, you could swap out privately here in Cake Pay. So it's a great option. A lot of people don't realize how easy it is to swap from one to the other right here in your wallet. And then you basically are setting yourself up for privacy because that transaction won't be able to be tracked once it goes through the Monero relays. So a good way to privatize coins without going directly to a tumbler, which we're going to talk about tumblers here in a minute. But a good way to privatize that would be utilizing your Cake Pay. So Cake Pay is a great option just overall. I recommend all of you use Cake Pay, have Cake Pay, have it downloaded, have it ready, have it accessible. Here is a great tool, Cryptrack. Now, this goes over a lot of different projects, coins, exchanges. Cryptrack is an incredible site. It's an S-tier site that I recommend all of you. Cake Pay is S-tier. This is S-tier. Most of the things from Get Monero on down are S-tier because they give you true privacy, true anonymity, the way things were meant to be. This is their Monero directory, so you can come here and you can see a lot of the different tools, services that you can use directly with Monero, which I recommend a lot of you guys come check this out if you're in the Monero ecosystem. There's really only one privacy coin, and that's Monero with a full-blown ecosystem. There are other good privacy coins where the technology is there, but the community and the ecosystem isn't there, so it kind of is irrelevant in a lot of ways, where this is one for Monero Direct, and you can go to cryptdirect.com, and you can check out all the different coins, markets, maps. This is a very good site if you're into crypto, you're getting into crypto, you're learning to learn more about crypto, top companies, accepting cryptocurrencies, and you can buy things directly with crypto, and it kind of breaks everything down. So this is a really good site. This is an S tier site that I recommend all of you guys kind of have favorited, especially if you're in the crypto community and you're looking to use things direct. Now, keep in mind, you still want to make sure your crypto itself is anonymous, and you still want to do it outside of your institutional account, because if your crypto is in your name, it's still going to cause you problems. So once you have your crypto ghosted, this is the tool I recommend using, or one of the tools. I'm going to talk about another one, and there's really about 15, but I'm going to talk about 2 here that kind of give you something that you can start using. But this is a good tool, especially if you're in crypto, for services, businesses, internet services, shops, markets, tourism, traveling, offline services, gambling, luxury, I mean, all kinds of stuff, and it will kind of increase. Keep in mind, because it's on the main net, we are still worried about AI bots, but if your crypto is anonymous, you're good. And then I talk a lot about the try drop, mail drop, so you can have stuff sent to you because your mail drop obviously is not in your name, or at least it should be ghosted, so you're good to go. Now, Monero is a great option. I do recommend, if you're in the Monero ecosystem, you learn about Monero. Monero gives you flexibility. Again, make sure if you're buying things with crypto, it is not being delivered in your name. It's being delivered in your ghost business name on your try drop, mail drop. Otherwise, you just linked it to yourself and you defeated the entire purpose. So, if it's a physical good or physical property, gold, silver, things of that nature, if you're buying houses with your crypto, if you're buying cars with your crypto, which are, simple things, they can be run through your digital trust, you're good to go. But understand delivery, understand how these things work. But this, for Monero, gives you a lot of other options, things you can utilize if you're looking for, specific stuff. You can come check it out. The list is always changing. It's not huge, but it gives you a lot of different flexibility, and it gives you some things you can do directly with your crypto. It's also not 100%. There are things that I noticed that are not on here that I know you can use, can do, whatever, but this gives you some options with your Monero directly. But keep that in mind when you're having something shipped. Bisq is, so both those sites are both S tier. I recommend them both. Bisq has always been my S tier decentralized exchange, but the problem with exchanges is small exchanges don't have the liquidity. So keep that in mind. An exchange should be a middle. The problem with a lot of small exchanges, the reason Coinbase and Binance and Crypto.com and Kraken will continue to clear, is because liquidity matters. So if we're looking for a decentralized option in a mid option, I'm going to say my S tier option is going to be Bisq. I've used Bisq for a long time. I've talked about them for a long time. It is a very, very safe, decentralized, private option for you to use, and I recommend everyone check it out. Everyone have this site earmarked. You will need it, especially in the future, the way things are going. My A-list option is StealthEX. It doesn't have as many features, but it is good for swap. It is a good alternative for a lot of people for MetaMask and things of that nature. That is much more private, much more secure, and it gives you the privacy and security features you need that MetaMask never has. It also doesn't have all the issues that MetaMask has with hacking and all the internal injection bots that are now in MetaMask, and that's why everyone's using it for a lot of activities on with the crypto space that make the entire community look bad. I'm going to talk about something here, guys, that, is going to be dark web adjacent. This is the only thing dark web adjacent I'm going to talk about. Like I said, tumblers. I get asked all the time, what are the best tumblers? Tumblers are decent to a point, but you need to understand, I find 90% of the crypto experts, alleged experts I talk to, don't understand how tumblers work, don't understand the entry mode and the exit mode, and how the AI trackers work. So a lot of tumblers, even things like Cash Cycler and Tornado, have now been hacked. Now, some are illegal, some are legal, but a lot of them have now been cracked and can be traced all the way through. ZeroLink, you can see here on their GitHub of ZeroLink. This is something that all you guys can check out. Basically, the Bitcoin fungibility framework. If we go down, let's see, right here, it's going to kind of break down the different options and how it would look for pre-mix, post-mix, both your wallet, your opt-in, your opt-out. You're going to have the pre-mix and the post-mix techniques, but it's also going to talk about Some of the features are usually similar to Coin Shuffle and Tumblebits, etc. So ZeroLink is a good option if you are advanced. I do not recommend tumbling unless you're an expert and you have a private on and off ramp. For most of you, you're just going to cause yourself more problems than it's worth if you don't know what you're doing. Also with coin joins and the input output and the fees, they're able to track the bit rate and then the hash rate. And so a lot of people don't understand. They think a tumbler is just a coin switch. You actually have to kind of mix it up. It's kind of like shuffling a deck of cards. You're never going to have the same shuffle twice. But if we have the same hash and then we have the fee bit and then the energy usage, they can basically fingerprint it in a lot of them. These ones talk about their 3-stage, 32 transaction inputs, 124 users can join a total of 96 transactions. The problem is the breakup rate can still be tracked, potentially approximately 350 to 470 across the board. But again, the fee structure is going to be the same on each one. So it's not necessarily going to be as private as you need. You really should be private going into it. This is why I'm a big fan of the Monero network, because that kind of helps solve the entry problem. So even if you're buying crypto in your name and you're looking at, like, let's say you have crypto right now and you're putting it in your trust and you're looking for alternatives to be able to keep it private, because you need to have all of your crypto out of your name. I've been saying this, I've been screaming this from the rooftops. If you don't by the end of the year, a lot of people are going to have their crypto confiscated. A lot of people are going to live in countries where banks have to custody, where hardware wallets are going to be deemed paraphernalia, similar to, if you have a prescription drug that a doctor prescribed, you can have it. If you have crypto that is in a bank, you're going to be able to have it. But if you have crypto that is outside of it, it's going to be illegal. Just like if you have, a drug that wasn't prescribed by a doctor, then it's an illegal drug and you can be in serious trouble for it. Similar type of situation. So when they have the control set, you need to have it outside your name. That way you can control it. That's why all the carve outs are for institutional accounts in the video that I showed you guys yesterday. And when I'm breaking down these these loopholes that they're putting in there, because they have the business loopholes. I started the video off showing you that you have to have interest in the business entity, which is not possible. That's why the only thing that solves it is the digital trust. This is an option for some of you, utilizing these tumblers, but understand what you're getting into. This is definitely an S tier option, but it's a highly advanced option for most of you. And make sure that you have your off ramp in place before you tumble. Do not tumble and then put it right back to where it came from, because that's insane. That's literally insane. Also, I have to say, don't do it for nefarious activities. DuckDuckGo is probably my S tier browser extension because it gives you a second layer. And you guys know how I'm huge on compartmentalization. It gives you a second layer of privacy option. It can come standard for things like Brave, but DuckDuckGo is a good search-based option. Obviously, you guys should not be on Google. You should not be on Yahoo. You should not be on Bing. You should not be on any of these options. So this is a good option that gives you flexibility. DuckDuckGo is definitely S tier. C tier is going to be Firefox. Now, I'm not going to waste anybody's time and show Safari and Google and Opera and all of these other base level browsers. And we all know those are all F tier. All those are F tier. All the basic browsers are F tier. Bing is an F. Google is a triple F. The browser, the search engine, all of it's triple F. Also, if you're using ChatGPT and other tools, those all track based on metadata. So I recommend using those tools. If you're not on Tor, you at least need to be, I'll show you the browser in a second that I recommend at bare minimum. And typically it's not Brave. Now, depending upon what ChatGPT tool you're using, because some of them are trying to block privacy browsers, because a lot of them make a lot of money off their data, and they're building models of your data in the background legally, because none of this is illegal yet. Firefox, do not use. Firefox is basically a skin of Google. They get most of their money, like 98%, from Google. Firefox is a C, just because Firefox does have advanced features that you can tweak. And I did a video like 3 years about this, but it'll probably take you like 2 hours to get Firefox usable. Some people love Firefox so much that they're willing to do that, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I'm going to give it a C tier because it does have privacy features that are deep in the controls and the settings. Firefox out of the box is garbage. It's not usable. If you really, really tweak the settings, you can get Firefox usable, but it's just simply not worth it because there are other browsers that are better outside the box. So I'll give it a C to be fair. I would use Firefox over all the other stuff that comes stock, but don't use Firefox. Onion is going to be the best you're going to do on Apple. So if you're using Apple, the Onion browser is a good option. They get an honorable mention. They're A tier. There is no S tier on Apple when it comes to the phones. There is no S tier. The browsing on your phone should not be done. That's why I recommend, unless you have a dedicated phone, and it really should be a Linux phone or a Graphene OS phone, you should not do crypto on your phone. You really should do crypto on a hardwired laptop or desktop every single time. This is the best you're going to do with Apple. Android, again, you're causing yourself problems. At least use Graphene OS. Brave is a solid. Brave is a B plus. Brave used to be an A. They're a B plus. I do not like the direction Brave is going. I just don't. I just don't like the direction Brave is going, but they're not bad. I'm keeping a super close eye on them. I am very concerned that they will be unusable in the next 3 to 5 years, but we'll see. They started out privacy-based, but they're adding too many features. They're going too deep into AI. They're going too deep into a one-stop VPN, blocker, tracker, all these additional widgets and features, and it's just not good. They just need a base model streamlined version. So Brave is, for me at this point, kind of like my all-around dummy search basic browser. I don't use them for anything super important. I don't use them for banking anymore. I don't use them for that stuff as of now. I just use them as a generalized browser. Would I recommend you stop using Brave? No. If you use Brave, keep using Brave. It is far better than all the other ones we've named so far. But, far better than Firefox, far better than Safari, far better than Google, far better than all the other ones, right? But Brave is not going in the right direction. B plus. Firefox Focus is also a great mobile option. If you are going to be on Apple or you're going to be on Google, I recommend, having the Onion browser if you're on Apple, and then having the Firefox Focus as a secondary, and then you can have Brave as a third. So it gives you some flexibility. I do recommend Firefox Focus, not traditional Firefox, but Firefox Focus specifically is another good mobile option. This video, mobile is a very big concern, and mobile is a very big privacy concern, and mobile should be used lightly. Your core stuff, your most important stuff should always be done on a desktop. Now, for me, an S tier browser, this is A plus to S tier LibreWolf. I would probably say A plus because there is a browser that's a little bit better than this. But yeah, right on that teetering edge, but LibreWolf. Now, again, we're taking Firefox to another level with customized skin that is directly focused on privacy, digital security, digital freedom, freedom of speech, those type of things. Okay, that's good. I like that it's the way Brave started, frankly. This is how Brave used to be. Unfortunately, Brave, too many bells, too many whistles. Bells dropped to a B plus. It's probably A plus. I'd recommend LibreWolf over Brave most of the time. This is a good option. You can look at the source code. You can look at, the base level features. Of course, you have no telemetry, content blockers, has all the ad blockers, has those, base level things, but it doesn't have all the extra goofy stuff that Brave is adding. Also, this is pretty good for anti-fingerprinting. It's one of the better browsers for anti-fingerprinting. Of course, you're going to be going through DuckDuckGo, which is a great option. You're not going to be on the Super Google. If you are using a Chat GTP, again, option there in that regard. Molvad is probably better Molvad is probably also an A plus. I'm going to give LibreWolf and Molvad both an A plus. The browser for Molvad is really, really good, and I do recommend you use it. Now, you guys know I'm at compartmentalization, Fedora, good options and updates there. Ubuntu, going directly through Linux, and you can go through the other. You can go through Mac OS, Windows if you have to, Firefox or Linux. If you are using their VPN, having some separation is good. If you have this on your router and then you're using a separate VPN, that's fine. But understand that Molvad browser is a really good option, and LibreWolf and Molvad are what I use probably the most of the time. Brave for general stuff. Like right now, I'm using Brave because this is something very basic, very general. I'm not even logged into anything. I'm just going through these things with you guys. I'm putting this together. So this would be an option for Brave. The S tier, as you already know, is Tor. I mean, Tor is definitely going to be the S Tor. We've already touched on Tor, but Tor is going to be the S tier option. Do not use banking and things of that nature on Tor. It's going to bog you down. Banks have internal systems because of the hacks and breaches they're always facing. I use Molvad and Libra for banks and important stuff. I use Brave for generalized stuff. I use Tor for gray area and things of that nature. I'll use Firefox Focus on my phone from time to time, or an Onion browser unless I'm on a Linux, because Linux you can actually have a core device. I use Graphene from time to time as well. Graphene OS is a good option. Firefox Focus will take you down there. But all roads lead to Tor when it comes to extreme privacy in this regard. Now we're going to talk about VPNs. VPNs are very important at this point because you're going to have that separation. All of your ISPs, which stands for Internet Service Provider, of course, no matter who you have. I talk a lot about Starlink. I talk a lot about, Netgear, Nighthawk, where I can swap between different SIMs, MoFi, where I can swap between different SIMs. I talk a lot about these things. Doesn't matter who you have. There's going to be a base level of spying in every single solitary ISP, no matter who it is. Now, you should never use an ISP that you do not own, you do not control. So if you're traveling, you're going to a hotel, something like Netgear, Nighthawk, never use hotel Wi-Fi, never use airports, the worst. Coffee house is probably the second worst. Hotel is probably the third worst. Local store is probably the fourth worst. Don't use any Wi-Fi that isn't your own at this point. It is so unbelievably easy to hack you, to take all of your data, to take everything off your machine, whether it's a laptop or whether it's a phone. You can set up dummy networks. I can use my Wi-Fi Pineapple and make you think that it's Starbucks. We've done pen testing for companies before, and I've had dozens of people log onto my network because I masked it. I made it look like their home network, and they just willy-nilly log on. They just willy-nilly log in. And then when they log in, you have their machine, you have their device. You own them digitally now, and they logged in themselves. I didn't even hack them. I just set up a Wi-Fi Pineapple that I can get for $120 online. It's literally that easy. You don't know if you're at the Hilton or you're at the Embassy Suites or you're at the Mandalay Bay or you're at the Bellagio here in Vegas. You don't know if it's actually the right one. I can go to the Bellagio right now or the Wynn, and I can get the information, set up a dummy one, and I can get 100 people to log on today. I could probably make 500 grand this weekend by hacking. If I wanted to make the big bucks, spend a month in Vegas letting people log on to your Wi-Fi Pineapple and cleaning these people out. It's shockingly easy. I don't recommend it, and I would never do it, but it's scary how easy I could do it. It's scary how easy I could do that. If I wanted to make an extra 10 million this year in Vegas, I could set up remote machines. In fact, people have done that before. We have DEF CON here at Vegas for a reason. Have a VPN at bare minimum. Keep yourself compartmentalized, and do not use any Wi-Fi or any internet that you don't own, that you don't pay for, that you don't control, that isn't yours, that isn't going through your machine. Nord is about the worst piece of spyware I've ever seen, and yet everyone uses it. What is the deal with Nord? Do not use Nord. Nord is literally CIA malware. You are paying for intelligence agencies and the 14 Eyes to spy on you. Nord is trash. F-U Nord, F tier, F all of it. Do not use Nord. Another one I see a lot is Surfshark. Are you serious? People are like, yeah, man, I heard Surfshark's pretty good. From who? Who told you this? F, giant F. The F continues. Proton VPN has actually gotten a little bit better. I'm surprised. Proton has gotten a little bit better. I would give Proton an A tier at this point. They used to be a B tier for me. I would give them an A tier. They've increased their encryption. They've increased their servers. They've increased the way that their servers connect. You do need to set up with dummy information. You do need to set up with, because the way they're running their company, I don't love. But the quality of their product's pretty good. Proton's UI, user interface, is always good. All their products are good. Their cloud services are trash, and they commingle with this, and that's my main problem with them. But the quality of their server set and the quality of their torrenting and the quality of, you know, their core feature set has gotten better. So I'm going to give Proton an A, and the S tier, I'm pretty sure you already know, is Mulvad. If I wanted to get started with Mulvad, I click here to get started. I generate an account. It gives me an account. I add time to my account. I copy this. I got it, right? And then I just go and I add time. That's all I do. That's all I do. So if I were to do this, let me show you the whole process actually. So get started, generate account, add time to your account, copy, got it, paste it, log in, never, okay? And now you can come here, cryptocurrency, Monero. They even give, oh, that's nice. They give me 10% off for using Monero. Create one-time payment address. Bob's your uncle. Steve's your cousin. Frank's your brother. You're good. A year for 54, what is that? Pounds? Pretend money? Nothing. I can do it monthly. I can do it 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, a year. I scan this QR code and I'm good. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole deal. That's all there is. There we go. I'm running, it may be running slow because I'm running like 3 different VPNs right now. But here in Vegas, it is imperative because of the way that our infrastructure is structured. So it's always saying I'm in different places. I'm actually toggling my VPNs. I usually use the ones in the southern United States, like Arizona, Florida, maybe Texas, maybe Mexico. Those ones seem to toggle good with Vegas. So yeah, that is how you do it. That's it. That's the whole process. Boom. You're on Monero. Welcome to Monero. You're set, guys. That's how simple it is. That's the way it should be with a VPN. If it doesn't do that, we're off to a bad start. We're off to a bad start, in my opinion. If it doesn't do that, we're off to the wrong start. Okay, these are tools that all of you should be using every single day. The S tiers or the A tiers are ones that all of you should be using every single day. I'm going to be getting into some stuff on the dark web soon, and I'm going to be breaking down how you guys can use the deep web regularly and quit using this. And then I'm going to break one down on Web3. Web3 is officially coming with the social credit score, which social credit score will be coming at the end of this year. It's why I created Ultra Ghost, so you guys can stay out of that. You guys can check out second link down below for Ultra Ghost. I think we have one more round we're going to be doing, and then we're going to, and then we're going to have to move on because the fact is people who are not getting out of the system are going to be screwed on crypto and on their data. And this is going to be a big problem. Going into 2026, there's going to be no more using Web 2. All your data that's in Web 2 is going to be locked in forever and used against you in social credit score. It's going to give you a social credit number, and then what you're allowed to do in life is going to be based on that number. That's why you have to get yourself out of that as quick as you can, because going into next year, it's going to be donezo and you're going to be stuck forever. So I got some advanced videos coming. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Also, I told you guys I'm locking in for 5 months because the next part of this year is going to be very important. It's going to be life-changing for everybody on Earth. Largest transporter of wealth in crypto. Get all your crypto in your crypto trust. It's also going to be the largest data transfer in history for the social credit score. So I'm locking in for 5 months. You're probably never going to see notifications because everything I do is suppressed. So check back at this YouTube channel regularly, no matter what. Make sure you're checking a couple times a week or every single day because I'm going to be putting in tons of content. I'm going to be locking in for the next 5 months. I'm going to be putting a lot of stuff out. Make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter as well because we are going to be rolling. A lot's going to be happening, and I'm going to be posting more than I've posted in years because this year is going to be probably the most life-changing year, both for good and bad. There's good news because crypto, if you're set up properly, I mean, oh my gosh. And then the social credit score, I'm very frustrated about. I'm very frustrated that in the land of the free, we're ushering in a social credit score for the world, and the rest of the world is just complying and with a smile. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be very, very soon.